So YouTube just sent me this email. It says, Yiddishkeit, your 2024 year in review is here. And so I want to go through this email with you, and I'm going to explain why in just a moment. Yiddishkeit, you joined YouTube in 2023. That's a wrap for 2024. Here's a look back at how you've grown as a creator. Remember to celebrate, share your highlights, and thank your community for their support. So, thank you. This past year in 2024, 6,000 people joined this journey with us to explore what does it mean to be Jewish. And all of you didn't just watch, but also contributed with your likes, your comments, and sharing this with other people, which I honestly don't have a way to express how amazing and grateful I am for all of that. The email ends off with, we can't wait to see what you'll do next year. Remember to thank your fans. Personally, I think fans are for sports and for ceilings. I think of it more as viewers, contributors, but either way, thank you. And share a fun recap with the hashtag #MyYearOnYouTube2024. So that's exactly what I want to do in this video. I want to take this moment to think big picture, talk about what this channel is about, what 2024 was all about, and the vision for this coming year of 2025. First, let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is David. I grew up in the yeshivish community here in Brooklyn, New York. If you're not familiar with yeshivish, and you Google it, it will say it's ultra Orthodox, and it may be confusing with Hasidim. So just think about it as Hasidim just -1. The main point is that growing up, Jewishness was everywhere all the time, but it wasn't something that I actually felt. It were just these things that I did. And it wasn't until 2019 that I started to think about what Jewishness actually means to me and started this journey that we're on together. The way that I began and continue to feel really connected with my Jewishness is by studying history. And I don't just mean like lists of dates or lists of people, chronologies. I mean, that's a lot of fun and very nerdy. I love that stuff. But I also mean something deeper. By studying Jewish history, I was able to see how people in the past understood their own Jewishness and how their surroundings, the age they lived in, their location deeply influenced their idea of what it means to be Jewish. And so for me, the big question that I'm seeking to answer and this channel is all about is what does it mean to be a Jew in America? The points of history that really influence the way I think about this question and the journey I'm on to integrate these ideas into my own life really focus on a few main themes that you've probably seen on this channel over the past year. The first theme is immigration. I myself am a child of Soviet immigrants, and so this is very relevant to me. But even if you're second, third, fourth generation in America, these questions still influence our idea of Jewishness till today, even if they're not so visible on the surface. Jewish immigration is really important in this discussion of Jewishness because when Jews left Europe and went to America, they didn't have hundreds of years of tradition and established order, the Jewish institutions that they had at home. And so in this new land, they really had to rethink a lot of what Jewishness was. And this is something that directly influences me on my journey trying to understand what Jewishness is. This topic is something I've spent the past 5 years thinking about. There are several distinct waves of Jewish immigration, and we could see this theme come up every single time, from the first Jews that arrived in America in 1654 to the Great Wave, the Ellis Island experience, or to Holocaust refugees, all the way to my parents' generation and till today. The other huge theme that keeps coming up on this channel in my exploration of Yiddishkeit is the tension between tradition and modernity. This comes down to the fact that in the modern world, Jews are emancipated, which means they have equal rights under the government. This started in the USA with the American Revolution, then in France with the French Revolution, and by the beginning of the 20th century, pretty much across most of Europe. And this poses a really important question of how much of the modern world do we embrace? And obviously, there's a huge spectrum across the Jewish world where people find themselves at different points along the continuum, either leaning more towards traditionalism, preserving the ways things were in the past, or towards modernity, trying to adapt their Jewishness to a new setting and a new age with new rules. And so, deeply understanding the tension between the two sides, tradition and modernity, and trying to find some sort of balance somewhere in the middle, is a really important aspect of Yiddishkeit and Jewishness in America. There's so much art in the Jewish experience, from paintings to books to movies to food. Some of it captures the serious moments like stories and film. We'll talk about immigration or tradition and modernity. And some of it is just really fun, either capturing dramatic Bible scenes or music or food or just fun stories. Over this past year, we started going through a bunch of movies in our Jewish film club called Yiddishkeit Club. There, we covered a lot of examples of Jewish art that focuses on tradition and modernity, like Fiddler on the Roof, or immigration, like Hester Street. And I'm really excited to continue this theme in Yiddishkeit Club in this coming year, 2025. I'm excited to look at some movies we've mentioned already a few times on this channel, like American Tail or Crossing Delancey, and there's many others on the list I'm excited to get to as well. And speaking of Fiddler on the Roof, there's also a really interesting rabbit hole I have just recently descended into, and I'm excited to bring that to this channel as well, and that is Yiddish film. In fact, I knew about Yiddish film kind of in the ether, but then a few commenters on this channel really pointed me to a few specific films that I've now since watched and I'm excited to discuss. Specifically is the Yiddish version of Fiddler on the Roof from 1939, which was also made in America, but it's all in Yiddish and it has a very different ending to the story in the Norman Jewison film. So I'm excited to cover the Yiddish version of Tevye and also compare it to other versions throughout history from the Soviet Union and from Shalom Aleichem himself. Also, speaking of Yiddish film, I have fallen in love with the Yiddish classic, the Dybbuk. I've really gone down that rabbit hole, and I feel like there's so much more rabbit holing to do, if that's a word. And speaking of comparing movies, I'm also excited to do a deep dive analysis on The Jazz Singer, which is slowly becoming one of my favorite unofficial movie franchises. There are 4 movies named Jazz Singer that have come out throughout the 1900s. There's also a Yiddish jazz singer called Overture to Glory that I've seen this year. And again, you can see all the themes I discussed coalescing in this franchise of The Jazz Singer. It's about immigration, about tradition versus modernity, about Jewish arts. It's specifically about music, but also film. As I end off this video, I want to let you guys know about something I've been working on for the past couple years. And I mention it here, even though I really dislike talking about things before they happen, because I want you all to know about it and to, well, keep me accountable so these projects can actually see the light of day. This idea of Jewish immigration deeply influencing Jewish identity is something that is very clear in the first wave of Jewish immigration, the first Jews that arrived in America in 1654. And about a year and a half ago, I went with my friend Mayor to a bunch of locations across New York City to recreate and retell the story of these first Jewish immigrants, specifically the story of one man named Usher Levy. And I have been on this mission to tell the story of Usher Levy and the first Jewish refugees to America since 2019. Even though we filmed a lot of the shots about a year and a half ago, I still haven't put the film together. And so I'm letting you know that it's one of my goals to put it together and show you this really incredible story that has inspired me for so long. And I want to finally share that with all of you. Also, another project we've been working on that we also filmed this past year in 2024 was an exploration of the Passover Haggadah, but specifically how it's been illustrated over the past 700 years. This is a story that also shows how people interpreted their Jewishness in probably the most important Jewish holiday, Passover. And it's super fun, super colorful because we see so many different art styles that are also directly influenced by the time and place in which they were made. So stay tuned on this channel for more episodes of Yiddishkeit Club, other random rabbit holes that I go down, as well as these 2 documentaries about Usher Levy and illustrated Haggadahs. If you're new to this channel, well, thanks for watching this recap video. This channel is all about exploring Jewishness, and so I invite you to join me on this journey in this coming year.